Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Wrestling Doesn't Make Sense. It is the best podcast on the internet where me and John talk about pro wrestling and whether or not it makes sense. And today we are going to talk about one single, solitary, lone figure in the wacky world of professional wrestling, who a lot of people might say just doesn't make a lick of sense. Just one guy doesn't make any sense. Who could we possibly be talking about? But our good friend Ryback. No, I can't say for certain that he is our good friend. I imagine he's probably not.
He definitely won't be after this podcast.
No, but well, to be fair, what we're gonna do is just tell you some of the things that Ryback has said.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't like that, he needs to take an issue with himself. He said this stuff, you know. But basically, Ryback has he's been very vocal on Twitter since he left the WWE, which was like, when was that? 2015 or something?
16.
2016.
I think his contract was winding down in the middle of the year, and then he had a big falling out with Vince with the way he's being booked, and he was like, "Well, fuck it, I'm not signing an extension." And then his contract ran out in I think August in 2016.
And everybody was devastated.
Absolutely heartbroken.
Everybody said, "Why can't my favorite wrestler, Ryback, go back to work? This is unfair." Ryback, I believe, is Ryback's favorite wrestler.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
It seems that way. Ryback, by the way, is his real name. He has changed his name. When did he change his name? It must have been shortly after he left, because the WWE would have owned the copyright to the name Ryback unless he changed his name to Ryback, much like the Ultimate Warrior did.
Exactly, yeah. He is, taking a page out of the Ultimate Warrior's book, and that, went really well for the Ultimate Warrior. So,
yes, you know what? In 30 years' time, the Ultimate Warrior came back and made up with Vince McMahon, and all was right with the world. And everybody forgot that he was a massive dick and a raging homophobe. So, hey, Ryback, the future looks bright for you. There was one minor problem with that comparison, in that the Ultimate Warrior drew money.
Yes.
People wanted to see the Ultimate Warrior.
I don't think Ryback could draw with like a pack of crayons and a stack of paper, to be honest.
Who has ever said, "Hey, you know who my favorite wrestler is? It's Ryback"?
Let's be fair though. Ryback, for a time, he was pretty popular. Like when he first broke into WWE as Ryback, like coming back from his injury after, getting kicked out of the Nexus, he was pretty popular for a time, and he had the Feed Me More chants going, and he had like his undefeated streak, and he was beating like loads of jobbers in handicap matches and getting them up for shell shocked like at the same time.
Yeah.
And then like kind of he kind of was in a position where John Cena got injured and CM Punk needed a new opponent, and basically they had no intention of taking the WWE title off CM Punk because he was due to drop it to The Rock at the Royal Rumble. So The Rock could have his rematch with John Cena at WrestleMania. But obviously they kind of needed someone to slot in and face Punk before then, and Ryback, because he'd had this run, was put in that position, but it was a position where he was never going to win, and he probably should have realized that, and realized that there was a bigger picture at stake, and that it wasn't so much about him, the story. It was more about CM Punk and The Rock and John Cena.
Obviously, any fucking idiot could have seen that was the storyline.
Yeah. But, Ryback has even come out and said since then that he feels like he should have won that match, and he should have kept being undefeated and blah, blah, blah. And, WWE should have changed their entire WrestleMania plans just to serve Ryback. And this is kind of his problem, though, because he does have this sort of egomaniacal, like narcissistic streak about him, where he kind of does think he's a lot more important than he actually is.
Yes. Now, isn't that stunning that Ryback thought he should win the championship because he was more over than The Rock and John Cena? Doesn't that just like blow you the fuck away?
I
You
mean,
know?
yeah. Where
I mean,
did that
yes,
even
with the
come from?
with the best will in the world, my friend. There's no way. So I
Jeez.
assume you're listening to this, Ryback. There's no way that you would, at that point in time, would have been a bigger draw than The Rock or John Cena or CM Punk, the actual champion. So obviously that was the storyline, The Rock versus Cena. That was clearly the plan. But I also think that the WWE, while their hands were tied, like they did need somebody to take that place against CM Punk for those couple of months. And Ryback was the most over guy. He, like, to be fair, he really was. You were correct. He really was super over. Partly because all we'd seen from Ryback was squash matches that he didn't have to do a whole lot in. But he did do a good job of getting himself over. So fair play for that, right? That's commendable.
Absolutely.
The WWE's hands were tied. Really, Ryback at the time, from the period between, Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble, where nothing ever happens, they really needed somebody to fill a role against CM Punk, and fair enough, Ryback was the right guy. But I think they also kind of did a good job with introducing the Shield, which, as we can all heartily agree, I assume Ryback will agree with us too, became way bigger than Ryback.
Yep.
So that was a good move, but it also meant that Ryback was able to save some face and not like totally lose clean, and had an out, as they say in the wrestling business.
Yeah, but then he sort of started feuding with the Shield and was losing against them as well. So
because they had no other choice but to. And
yeah, exactly.
if you look at wrestling right now, Dean Ambrose is one of the biggest stars in AEW. Roman Reigns, undoubtedly one of the biggest stars in the WWE, and Seth Rollins is such a safe hand in the WWE that he's got a job for life, and they can trust that guy with whatever they throw at him, right?
Yeah.
Those three guys, compared to Ryback, who bitched and moaned about it and then quit, I think they made the right choice.
Yeah.
You can see why the Shield would be a much better choice for your guys to go with than Ryback, because they ended up being more over. They had a better angle. The monster gimmick works so far, and Ryback didn't seem like he could take the monster gimmick the way they wanted to take it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that because he didn't seem like a monster.
No, well, that's the thing with him. He was more of a kind of hybrid of Goldberg and the Ultimate Warrior, like that kind of intense muscle guy who just like plows through opponents. And
two of the world's greatest professional wrestlers.
but at least Goldberg and Ultimate Warrior actually drew some money, so
That is true. That is true. Goldberg, unbelievably, continues to.
yeah, bizarrely.
Like it's because he had like intensity. They both did. The Ultimate Warrior had intensity too, which was, he also talked about space and other shit, which was less good. But like they had a believability to them. Well, not the Ultimate Warrior, but he had that intensity, and Goldberg had that believability. Where Ryback seemed like he was on his way there, but he never quite got to either point. And that, I think, is where things fell down. It feels like he thought he was Ultimate Warrior or Goldberg level.
Yeah.
He clearly thought he was CM Punk, John Cena, The Rock level, which is stunning. But he never really got there. And then the booking got questionable, and he didn't seem to be able to roll with the punches, which you need to do in the WWE, because that place, they can switch things on a dime. And if you don't roll with the punches, you're dead in the water. And Ryback, this same guy, Ryback, ended up dead in the water, basically, because
Yeah.
he wasn't able to roll with the punches. And of course, that became a bone of contention with Ryback. He was like, oh, they screwed me over. And you're like, well, kind of and kind of not, right?
Yeah, there's like certain instances where you can point at and say, okay, that was really badly booked. Like him losing to Mark Henry at WrestleMania 29, where he basically lifts him up for the shell shocked and then just falls over because he can't hold him up, and Mark Henry lands on his head, and that's how he beats him. Like that does Ryback no favors whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm glad you remembered that because I had no recollection of that. It's weird how I can't remember a Ryback match, isn't it?
Wow, yeah. I mean, there's been so many memorable ones.
Oh, so many classics. So many classics. Apart from that one, and the one with the Shield that we mentioned against CM Punk, what other classic Ryback matches come to mind?
You know, that one against that guy.
Curtis Axel.
Yeah.
Wait, did he not team with Curtis Axel?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, they were Ryback, weren't they?
Ryback. Oh god, Rest is so weird.
And
so
do you
stupid.
do you remember he was like paired up with Paul Heyman for a while as well?
Yes, I do remember that. How did that work out?
Not so good. I think Ryback didn't really appreciate having Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece because I think he didn't think he needed a mouthpiece and he could talk for himself. Like there was I'm not sure if it was a tweet or maybe just like a something he said on his own podcast where he basically claimed that, you know, if it was like an open mic and no script, he could destroy Paul Heyman. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, because Ryback isn't exactly famous for his talking, his verbiage, his you know, his ability to tell a story through the art of promo. Whereas I think Paul Heyman maybe has a pretty good reputation for doing that.
I think if you were to name like easily like the best managers of all time, but you know, I would say probably some of the best talkers in wrestling of all time. Paul Heyman's the bam right at the top of that fucking list.
Mm.
That motherfucker can talk. That's the best thing he does.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman can talk his way out of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why ECW stayed in business for so long, because he can just talk his way out of anything. Paul Heyman's one of the best talkers in wrestling history. Nobody, with the best will in the world, Ryback, nobody is ever going to say that Ryback is one of the best. Nobody's ever going to say Ryback is a better talker than Paul Heyman. That's That's a fact. You will never, except for Ryback, find me a person that will ever say that Ryback is a better talker than Paul Heyman. That's insanity, right? But again, those are the words of a man who thinks he's more of a draw than The Rock. I can't get over that. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Oh my god! But this is a guy who he left the WWE partly because of the way he was being booked, and also because he didn't like the pay structure.
Yeah.
Ryback thought that because it's all fake, all the wrestlers should get paid the same. All right, which is insane for two reasons. Right, one, the logics of that, like what the fuck. Why would like they all get paid the same? In what job does everybody get paid the same?
Exactly.
Right? That's ridiculous. But number two, if you went to see a film starring Clint Eastwood, right?
Yeah.
And some other fucking prick, Ryback, right? Because he's such a good talker, he'd be great in a Clint Eastwood film. Do you think that the guy in the background should get paid the exact same amount of money as the star whose name and face is on every poster?
Of course not. That's not the way it works.
No, that's nonsense. That's not the way it works. Exactly. Because the guys at the top, the guys who people actually pay money to buy tickets to go and see are the draws. That's why they're the main events. Right? That's why they get paid the most. Steve Austin got paid a hell of a lot more than Scotty 2 Hotty. Right? Doesn't mean that Scotty 2 Hotty is a better or worse wrestler than Steve Austin.
Yeah.
But it means that Steve Austin was a bigger draw than Scotty 2 Hotty. That's not to say Scotty 2 Hotty wasn't popular. Everybody loves Scotty 2 Hotty. But they didn't pay money to see him. They paid money to see Steve Austin. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's to see him it's to see him with Ryback and The Rock. One of those guys is a big draw name, and the other one's Ryback. And that's just the facts. So like he left because he wasn't getting paid. But it's not that he wasn't getting paid what he thought he should be getting paid. It's the fact that he thought that because it's fake, they should all get paid the same amount.
Yeah.
That's stunning.
Like stunning. You know, it's just stuff like he'd get. He's complained about like poor payouts for WrestleManias and stuff. But then he wasn't actually on the main card on those WrestleManias. He was wrestling on the pre-show. And even then, like when they put him on the pre-show, the way he sees it, like from his point of view, is they put him on there just to like, you know, drive him crazy. Not because, he wasn't, like over enough or seen as like a good enough hand to be on the main show. It's just that it's all about, you know, him, like sort of thing, like just trying to wind him up and piss him off. And like, yeah, you can kind of see that sometimes in WWE with the way they book some guys, like they book them to humiliate them almost, like a bit of a whim, sort of like on, you know, if Vince doesn't like a certain guy, then they're always going to get booked badly. But then,
well, kind of, but also like if they are trying to do something to teach a guy a lesson,
yeah,
that makes sense. And if the guy doesn't learn his lesson, why would they book him?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like clearly this guy's got ego problems, and putting him on. To be fair, putting him on the pre-show at WrestleMania is still pretty fucking good, right?
Yeah.
To then fucking bitch and moan about how he wasn't on the main show at WrestleMania, they're gonna be like, well, I guess where you're gonna be next WrestleMania, in the seats. You know, we're not gonna book you for next WrestleMania. There's a real ego thing going on with this guy.
Yeah, and it's not to mention as well, like the sort of time frame he's talking about is when the network was introduced as well. So like, you know, when WrestleMania was on pay-per-view and it was being ordered by millions of people around the globe for like $50 a pop or whatever, then clearly they were making a shit ton of money for that. Whereas where it's on the network and you're paying your $10 a month subscription fee, it's you know, you don't have that extra revenue coming in from these big shows. So clearly there's going to be a bit of a disparity between the pre-network WrestleManias and the post-network WrestleManias. But he doesn't like see the common sense in that. It'll just be like, they're screwing me over, man.
Well, it's all about Ryback. I mean, I think that's been made clear before in that the payouts for the network have been different than they were for the boys, than they were before the network came along. And again, like you said, that's common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just obvious. You know, they probably would get a percentage of the house, but also, like, the pay-per-view buy rates would have been different, so they get a different cut of that. That's logical when you look at the very basic numbers that are. That's not hard maths. Very simple maths, right? You and me can figure that out. Well, we're idiots. So for Ryback to be like, they're screwed, they're not paying me what like, how much do you think you're worth? $3 million? I don't know about that. I mean, CM Punk gets paid $3 million, and CM Punk is a hell of a wrestler.
Yeah,
he's interesting. CM Punk, by the way, who, like we said, was put into those main events against Ryback because they had nobody else to go in at that certain time. CM Punk has said some very, very interesting things about Ryback based on that time. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm.
He said that, I don't have the exact quote, it was a couple of times whenever they were wrestling each other where CM Punk was a little unhappy with the way Ryback worked.
Yeah, I've got one quote from CM Punk.
Yes.
He said, wrestling Ryback took 20 years off his life. Which isn't exactly a ringing endorsement of Ryback's wrestling ability.
Oh my god. Oh well, I have a response.
Oh,
I have found a response. Would you like to hear what Ryback had to say?
very much so, yes.
So CM Punk said, "Resting Ryback took 20 years of my life," which, to be fair, is probably true. Former WWE superstar Ryback says resting CM Punk was like working a 90-year-old Karen.
What?
You know, like an opinionated woman. They call it a Karen.
Oh, right. I
A
thought you
woman
said
perceived
carrot first.
a carrying cross. A woman perceived to be entitled or demanding beyond the scope of what is considered appropriate or necessary, which you could say applies to Ryback. A 90-year-old Karen.
Jesus.
That 90-year-old Karen still beat him. So, Ryback not looking so hot these days. So CM Punk and Ryback have had a little bit of an issue.
But I mean, CM Punk is far from the only one to have issues with Ryback over the years.
Before we get into that, I want to really quickly say this one, which is another thing that kills me. But we'll get into Ryback's feuds with everybody else in 1 second. But I want to stick with the CM Punk thing for a moment because Ryback has been angling for a job with AEW. Much like every other professional wrestler has. And fair enough, Tony Khan's handing out contracts like nobody's business. But CM Punk has recently signed with AEW for big money and is one of their biggest stars. Easily the biggest guy they've signed. Ryback angling for a job with AEW. As we've covered, CM Punk and Ryback, not best friends. Not best friends. So the likelihood of Ryback getting a job with AEW, you would say, is probably nil.
I don't know. I mean, I think he is still good friends with Cody Rhodes, so he's got an in there.
Cody Rhodes sure can't pick him. He fucking nailed that. But did you see the tweet that Ryback wrote where he said, he put a poll out on Twitter and he was like, okay, guys, where do you want to see me go? And he wrote AEW, TNA, or Impact. I think he said WWE. And then the fourth option was retire as a joke. And like 75% of people said retire. So then later on, Ryback put up another tweet. He put the same poll up, but was like, don't pick retire as a joke. It's not funny.
Yeah.
But he still put retire as one of the options. And guess what people voted for the second time, Ryan? Retire. So I feel like the chance of him working with AEW and CM Punk are slim to none. But the fact that all of his fans don't want to see him in AEW either.
Yeah, I think he might have even put up a third poll with the same options because there was one where he was like begging people to stop creating fake accounts to vote for him to retire. But
he hasn't wrestled in 6 years.
I know. But this one ended up though. It's almost an even bigger troll than him, the retire option, because they voted for WWE NXT to be as like next destination with like 46% of the vote. So
they're so sweet.
I mean, yeah, I don't think.
Why would he put these fucking things on if he didn't want them to pick them?
Who knows, man? Who knows the thought process there?
What a character.
Yeah.
Did you see? There was a picture. I might put this on the video if I can find it. But it was a picture he had put on of you know how they do that thing on AEW, like Wibbly Wibble is all elite, right? He did one. He made his own one. I assume he made it. If it's not him, it was one of his seven fans. But somebody made one, and it was like Skip Sheffield is all elite. And I'm like, this is like, out of all the Liam things you've done, my friend, this is one of the worst. I gotta find that. It was so funny. If I find, I'll put it onto the video. So let's talk more about Ryback's history with other professional wrestlers. Almost every single one of them, by the way, who has more experience in professional wrestling than Ryback does. What have you got? Have you got something good? Because I've got a couple.
I've got, we've already talked about Mark Henry and their match at WrestleMania 29, I think it was. But it was earlier this year that Mark Henry kind of got into it with Ryback a little bit after Ryback sort of claimed that wrestling titles were props and it's all fake and blah, blah, blah. And Mark Henry didn't take too kindly to that because, you know, like the whole point is selling the fact that it's real and, you know, treating it as if championships are, you know, worth something special. And yeah, basically they got into a bit of a back and forth, and Ryback basically accused Mark Henry of having fallen asleep backstage in the gorilla position, like right before their WrestleMania match, and then some unnamed producer walking up to Ryback and calling Mark Henry fat and all this kind of stuff, and Mark Henry came back and basically called Ryback lazy and a bad worker. And then Ryback had the gall to kind of come back after that and threaten to sue Mark Henry for slander. I mean, Jesus wept, man. Like, come on.
Well, I don't have the original tweet by Ryback, but I have what Mark Henry said. So Mark Henry said, Ryback, your name is not Ryback. I don't even know your real name. Skip whatever it is. You're wrong. Every wrestler that sees your face should walk up to you and say, you're an asshole. And I hope you know how to fight for real, because you know, and I know, there's a lot of people that would whoop your ass. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Oh my God, that's so funny. So a lot of people feel the same way about Ryback talking shit about the business. So Ryback, of course, is not one to let bygones be bygones. So I have a response from the good Skip whatever. Let's see. I'm so disappointed in Mark for shitting on wrestlers who haven't won championships. That's in quotes. So, I don't know why that's in quotes, because championships, like, they still exist in wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not. The championships themselves aren't fictional. I don't know why you put them in quotes. So many men and women have sacrificed so much, including their health, for the business. And to call them failures based off them playing roles is so upsetting to me. Busted up on radio, just thumbs down. Classic use of emojis there. I'm also going to say this. Mark Henry was asleep in Gorilla prior to our WrestleMania match. A producer came over to me and said, good luck working that fat piece of shit. Mark didn't want to spend a lot of time coming up with a good match, and we got what we got. Now, again, doesn't that say that Mark Henry is the kind of guy who would work shit out in the ring, and Ryback isn't?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Ryback's like, oh, you fucked me over. I'm like, maybe you're not good at wrestling. You ever think about that? Oh, let's see. There's some more. Let's also just fucking air it all out there. John Cena didn't want to work with Mark Henry on live events because he believed Mark Henry was a shits. So I stepped up and offered to work with him, which was much harder on me physically, but knew we would get great reactions. Oh, is that true, Ryback? Well, that's very humble of you to offer. I thought you were a bigger star than John Cena. How does that work? That's ridiculous. So clearly there's a lot of heat between Mark Henry and Ryback. I mean, if it came into a shoot fight, I think I know who my money's on.
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Mark Henry is legitimately, or was legitimately, the world's strongest man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not a, that's true. That's 100% true. Ryback is an idiot who has fights with everybody, it seems. What a character. What a character.
Yeah.
So he doesn't like CM Punk. He doesn't like Mark Henry.
He doesn't like Paul Heyman.
Oh, yeah. He thinks he's a better talker than Paul Heyman.
Doesn't like John Cena either. I think he's had plenty of bad things to say about Cena over the years, and talking about Cena burying talent behind their backs and stuff like that. Which, you know, maybe Cena did do stuff like that, but at the same time, he's like the top star in WWE and was probably, protecting his spot maybe, or I don't know. I'm not making excuses for John Cena, but fucking hell, it's wrestling. People are constantly burying each other behind their back, so get used to it, for fuck's sake.
Right, but also he's John Cena.
Yeah.
Right, like we've established. I think we've pretty much made it clear that Ryback is no John Cena.
Yeah,
it's just not difficult to figure out. So, yes, he doesn't like John Cena either. I mean, presumably because John Cena got all the pushes. Why didn't Ryback get all the pushes? I can't imagine why. Why could that possibly have been? Who else does he not like?
Oh, he hates Triple H. He calls
my God.
Triple H Pussy Paul a lot.
I mean, that's not even clever.
No, I know, but I guess he feels like Triple H lied to him and ducked him and stuff like that when he wanted to, like talk about his person and like
not because Triple H is super busy.
Exactly. I mean, Triple H has probably got 1,000,001 things going on at
that
TV.
Poor guy had a heart attack. He was doing so much shit.
Yeah.
And fucking Ryback's out here cursing him on Twitter. Like a piece of shit. Oh, Christ. Pussy Paul is not the savior to anything. He will go down with the ship.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yes, well, he's got bad things to say about Vince McMahon.
Of course, yeah. You quoted him, didn't you, earlier on?
Yes, well, let me see. What did he say? I want to get the exact thing that he said. Because he said a lot. God, he talks about Vince McMahon a lot. He really doesn't like Vince McMahon. The one guy who gave him more than an opportunity.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon put him on TV more than he deserved to be on TV. and he's like, fuck that guy. So let me see. Where was it? So he said, somebody talked to him about something on Twitter, and he of course replied to it and said, it was always about the talent. Vince McMahon just created a platform as a human circus that he modified from his father, which in itself doesn't make any sense. But here we go. That guy, Vince McMahon, is a piece of shit. I can't stress this enough. The world will be a better place when he passes. This isn't wishing death, but stating an opinion I believe to be true. Like, what?
But the weird thing is, he was claiming he was good buddies with Rod McMahon, Vince's brother, when he passed away earlier this year. And he was like trying to say he was, good buddies with Rod and how he bought his Feed Me More nutrition supplements and stuff like that. And it's like
the most famous and successful of the McMahons. Bizarre.
But then he's got a bit of a history when it comes to like claiming stuff about the people who are deceased and can't really say
they
otherwise.
Can't fight back.
Yeah, because like he even was claiming that he was supposed to wrestle Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 30. And he basically said that was the plan that was proposed to him. Yeah. And it was quickly and quite strongly denied by both Dana Warrior, his wife, and the Ultimate Warrior's manager as well at the time.
And anybody else.
Yeah. And Ryback had to kind of backtrack and like basically claim that it was just what is like one booking sheet which I saw or I was shown or whatever. Obviously he was trying to make it out the plans changed or whatever, but I mean, come on, that was never gonna happen.
That's insane. Can you imagine? Like, we've seen some bad wrestling matches in WWE history. Like, you would be hard pressed to think of a worse match than Ryback versus the Ultimate Warrior.
And who do you think's going over in that match as well? It's the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be the Warrior. But like those two egos going at it, like.
Yeah, geez.
I would say the Ultimate Warrior is probably the only one that Ryback would be okay with losing to.
Yeah, I think he'd still find something to complain about.
Well, let me tell you this. I found another thing regarding Ryback's tussling with Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this is what Triple H said to Ryback. He says, Ryan, because his name used to be Ryan Reeves, I believe. Wasn't it Ryan Reeves?
Yes.
It's now Ryback, which is just a horrible thing to be called all the time. but he went with it so he could get some more money out of it. He says, Ryan, and he was just shooting me straight. He goes, we're never going to have another marquee name after Cena ever again. He's the last one. That's what Ryback says Triple H told him. Now, in 2021, the year of Roman Reigns. Wouldn't you say that is total bullshit?
I'd say there's a distinct whiff of bullshit about that. Like, what context would Triple H be having this conversation with Ryback anyway? Like, what?
It's so like a moment ago he hated Triple H, and now Triple H is buddying up with Ryback. Like, let me tell you this, Ryan. I can call you Ryan, right? Let me tell you this. Never have a guy like John Cena, especially not you. Jesus fuck no. You know, like what on earth? Oh my god, this guy. I love this. This is my favorite show we've done in a long time. this because it's all true, right?
Yeah.
We're not out here like making accusations or talking shit or whatever. This is all shit Ryback has said. This is all stuff that Ryback has said. So all we're doing is reporting on it in one go. And let me tell you this. If I were to ask you whether or not you think Ryback is pro-vaccination for COVID-19 or anti-vaccination for COVID-19, just what based on what we've been talking about, and what kind of a guy, what kind of a logical, sound human being Ryback seems to be, who may remind you his legal name is Ryback. What side do you think he's on?
You know what? I think he's probably anti-vaxxer, maybe.
Well, that's crazy. Let's see what he has to say about this. The gyms in Vegas are requiring face masks again, but not allowing face shields, which is the only way to work out and get adequate oxygen. Of course, we all know this. We'll be training in my gym, but something is very off with all of this. I will not be getting vaccinated, and I support people's choices. So, that's an interesting take on it. He will not be, because we were worried. We were like, I wonder if Ryback is going to get vaccinated. I really hope he does. That would be good. I think I had another one about him talking about where was it? Let me see. Oh yes, it wasn't just about the vac, because of course the problem with the COVID vaccination is a lot of people think it's untested, or it's not like a legitimate means of treatment, right? That's what some people have said. And don't you find it strange that the people who say that often find alternate sources of treating this COVID-19 that are absolutely untested? Doesn't that not seem strange to you? That they would talk about an actual vaccination that has been researched and tested and say that one's fake, but this horse medicine, that's the good shit. Of course that'll work. Nobody's tested that, but I assume it'll work. So, what do you think? We're not talking horse medicine here, but what do you think Ryback, who, as we all know, sells his own brand of, proteins and shakes and healthy supplements? What do you think Ryback has to say about treating COVID-19?
I'm gonna assume that there's some natural supplement out there which he recommends.
You better believe it. But where can we buy it? Well, how dare people be healthy and want to live their life? Ryback tweeted, let's vilify them and blame them for the lack of nutrition as a society because we choose to sell shit for greed the last 70 years. This has only been happening for the last 70 years? What? 70 years?
Fucking hell.
Food is our medicine. It will allow us all to live freely once again. Start researching the powers of the food we were given on this planet. The standard American diet has failed many. It's time to take back control. He has tweeted a picture of avocados and sunflower seeds, and it's an advertisement for his Feed Me More Nutrition brand. So, if you don't want to get sick, just don't get sick. Eat the foods and don't get sick. It's easy.
Oh, wow.
Thanks,
I can't believe I've been doing it so wrong all this time.
You and me have been getting so sick We are constantly getting sick. And you know why? It's because we're not eating or drinking whatever the fuck Feed Me More nutrition is. Oh, don't we feel like idiots?
Oh, well. Now we know at least.
Yeah, now we're just not going to do that. So that's fine. It's so there you go. So he's not a fan of vaccination because you don't need to get vaccinated. Historically, nobody's ever got vaccinated for any disease ever. They just ate better and they got better.
Yeah, that's how, like, cholera went away and stuff like that.
Yeah. You know the annual flu jab people get? Fuck it. Eat a tomato. Done. Next. You remember malaria? Remember the Spanish flu?
Eat some baked beans.
Yeah, it's just feed me more. Oh my god. This shit writes itself. This is so funny. Who else has he had words with?
Well, the country of India.
Oh my god.
He was, there's like a time a few years ago where it was reported that WWE and Impact were both like, trying to break into the Indian market and, become quite big over there. And he basically questioned why they were doing that, essentially calling it a shithole country, and they don't have any money to spend over there. Which he kind of again had to backtrack once like people started criticizing him for it, and basically come out and say, "Oh no, I do love India. I was just joking around." And it's like, yeah,
It was a classic joke.
yes,
Isn't
a
it?
classic
Another...
Ryback zinger.
Well, he's so good on the mic. He's so much better than Paul Heyman. He's got all these jokes. You know what I mean? Oh my goodness, this guy's got jokes out the fucking ass. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love this. This is amazing. So the whole country of India is a brave one to take on.
Yeah, I don't know how many millions of people that is, but I'd say
Well, that's a lot.
That's
a lot of people, and especially now that the WWE are trying to get into India because it is a big market.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, millions of people live there, and those people do care about professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Right. But you go over to India and you ask them how many of them give a shit about Ryback. I dare say the answer is going to be 0. Well, let's stay in the Middle East for now. Let's not just talk about India. Let's talk about recently Saudi Arabia. Very recently, we saw a show in Saudi Arabia that wasn't half bad. I'm going to say this. I watched it. It wasn't like amazing, but like I've seen some of those Saudi Arabia shows before, and they really seemed like they were just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
This one was all right, and they had Mansoor versus Mustafa Ali, which you and me rightly criticized for the shitty booking. We were like, you should book Mansoor like straight away, and give him a program to make people interested.
Yeah.
Like it's like, well, they used to do that shit over here. They're like, it's a WWE pay-per-view in England, and the last person to get booked is William Regal. And then he loses to Crash Holly in like 5 minutes. You're like, thanks, man. Jesus fuck. We want to see William Regal. God damn it. So recently, because Ryback, I don't know if you've noticed this, guys, he's a very vocal personality. It's very vocal. So he had something to say about Mansoor for some reason. Like, I'm not quite sure why he said this, but he tweeted at Vince McMahon, because him and Vince are like two peas in a pod right now. They have a good working, but Vince McMahon doesn't tweet very often. But whenever he looks at his mentions and sees that Ryback has said something to him, he's right on that. So thank you very much, Ryback, for actually tweeting at Vince McMahon. But he said, at Vince McMahon, you can give Mansoor at Steve Austin's music. He actually tagged Steve Austin. Because, again, Steve Austin gives a shit. Right. So he said, Vince McMahon, you can give Mansoor Steve Austin's music, and he still won't be over. Holy shit, your product fucking sucks. Now, occasionally, a broken clock is right twice a day. Yes, the product does suck.
Mm-hmm.
Fair play, Ryback. But like, I don't see why he just out of the blue attacked Mansoor, who, by all accounts, has really done nothing wrong.
No, nothing at all.
That guy, he's improved. He's done the best he can. I wish they would stick with him. Like, they do need more diversity on that show. I would love to see. Mansoor can talk. I've heard him talk in NXT. He can, he's all right in the ring, but they can do stuff with him.
Yeah.
And of course, Ryback is like, nope. I don't see it than this guy. So he's not a big fan of Mansoor. Now, I assume since we're all wrestling fans, we have all seen what Mansoor did to reply to Ryback. All he did was take a screenshot of Ryback's now infamous tweets. One of the tweets, one of the many tweets he did about his poll asking people where he should go, where 78% of the people said he should retire. And that's all the tweet said. And that's all it needed to say.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect.
Absolutely.
So, Mansoor already. Clearly Mansoor is better at talking than Ryback is. Here's something from Ryback. The times that I did commentary. When do you remember Ryback on commentary?
I can't remember a single time that he was on commentary.
Well, he's a great talker. He's better than Paul Heyman, so he must have been really good. So the times that I did commentary at Vince McMahon never said a negative thing to me. I swear to God, he knew I would get up. I swear to God, he knew I would get up and beat the shit out of him if I did, or if he did. It sucks he was so shitty to many others. Does Vince McMahon really think that in the middle of a live show, that if he said something, because I assume if Ryback was being used as a commentator, Vince McMahon is busy yelling at the other commentators, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ryback's probably only there for one match to further an angle. So I imagine Vince McMahon is too busy shouting at Corey Graves and Michael Cole, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, he wouldn't be shouting at Ryback anyway. But to honestly think that the reason Vince McMahon isn't shouting at Ryback isn't because he couldn't give a shit about Ryback, and is because Vince McMahon himself thought that if he did, Ryback would be stupid enough to get up in the middle of a live episode of Raw and walk to the back and attempt to beat the shit out of Vince McMahon. A fucking 80-year-old man.
Jeez. I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense from Ryback's point of view, I guess, because this is a guy who, WrestleMania 31, he claims he was supposed to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, but instead the Big Show won that match, and he basically, apparently, according to Ryback, he went back into the gorilla position and started telling Vince McMahon how much WWE sucks and how everyone's miserable here and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, I'm not sure that's really the way to endear yourself to your employer, but...
And they didn't book him right after that?
I know, it's baffling.
After he gave them some really constructive criticism. Listen, man, are you starting to get the feeling that this Ryback might be a couple of somebody short of a picnic?
I think, yes, it's probably seeming that way.
I'm starting to think that this guy is a bit of an idiot. Oh, so here's what he said. This must be the thing he said about that got Mark Henry hot at him. Wrestling's fake. Wrestling's fake, guys. I love the as if he's telling us the secret. Wrestling's fake, guys, and the championships are props to market entertainers as, quote, champions. Again with a quote on champions. You're still the champion. I mean, if the division is all fake, fair enough, but you're still the champion of that fake division. Nobody has actually ever won or lost a prop, as scripted physical entertainment is incapable of that. This tweet explains so much. Oh, because the tweet was Fox saying the best superstar to never win the WWE Championship is blank. And he said that doesn't make any sense. And this is, I can see why Mark Henry might have had something to say. But
Mm-hmm.
Ryback, this is unbelievable.
But I mean, a lot of it does seem to come from this innate bitterness in Ryback, where I think, he's got a legitimate gripe against WWE because,
He really doesn't like him. I wonder
yeah,
why.
I mean, he did have his legs cut out from under him, and maybe he wasn't used to the best of his abilities, but that he's not blameless in this equation at all. Like, we can
Right.
see all these different claims he's made and all the bullshit he comes out with, and or in WWE having to deal with that on a daily basis. It's no wonder they didn't want to push him and like make him the biggest star in the company, because the guy's an asshole basically. So he can't really turn around and just blame WWE for his lack of championships and world titles and stuff, and just talk down world championships because he's never won one essentially.
But there's so many other ways, classier ways to do this shit.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever heard Roddy Piper talking about how he never won the championship? He's like, I never needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger than the belt. That's how you do it.
Well, and like you take someone like Cody Rhodes, who, like Ryback, basically let his contract run out because he wasn't happy with WWE and the way he was booked and stuff. But rather than sitting on Twitter or bitching on his own podcast for
his own
5 years,
podcast.
Cody went out to like Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling and New
NWA
Japan.
champion.
Yeah, he basically went all over the country, all over the world, really, and proved WWE wrong. Whereas
Yes.
Ryback has done nothing but whine for 5 years.
He has not done that at all. He's done the exact opposite of Cody Rhodes, and now he's trying to leech off the popularity of Cody Rhodes to try and get a job in AEW.
Yeah, and it's kind of the
Which is
irony of the situation as well. It's like the only way he stays relevant now is when he's bitching about WWE.
Exactly. Like but the irony of him like talking about other people being lazy and shit, and him like doing nothing and then trying to get a job with AEW, trying to get a job with AEW now that they're hot.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, I didn't see you getting a job with them when they started. Were you still injured? He said he's been injured. I'm like, you still injured from 2016? Oh, but
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here. Here's one though. Before we wrap things up, and I wish we could do this forever. I really do. This has turned into just he's a wonderful man, Ryback. But we mentioned his tiff with Mansoor and the graceful way that Mansoor just beat him down on Twitter. All he did was post a screenshot of one of Ryback's own tweets. Let me just get the clarification. I've got the tweet here. What promotion would you like to see me return to in 2021? Hashtag hungry. Hashtag feed me more. Hashtag Ryback. TM. Don't know what TM stands. Feedmemore.com at Twitter support. What? So AEW 14%, NXT 8%, Impact 6%, Retire 72%. So that's what Mansoor tweeted to Ryback. Ryback said, "Thanks for the plug," and then plugged his own nutrition bullshit, which we're not going to plug right here.
Yeah.
And then after that, somebody on Twitter called him out for this. And Ryback, being the secure and mature man that he is, decided to respond to some random ass fan by saying, so the guy said, Ryback got absolutely racked in a tweet and is trying to see if he meant to do that because he was plugging his own nutrition thing. And the guy said, "Give it up, brother. You're a has-been." The guy seems to be on the money.
Mm-hmm.
Ryback replied and said, "The fact that he doesn't know that the polls were all marketing plugs done to get people to vote retire on purpose, much like some of you, is hilarious. It's all documented from the first poll. It's too easy with your kind." Oh, yeah. Ryback, are you telling lies? It's all documented from the first poll. He's done 3 polls. I don't remember this being documented.
No, I don't think there was any official documentation anywhere.
No, especially not from him. I don't think he made it clear.
Mm.
I don't think that he said that this is, well, I guess if you just eat better nutritious foods, such as whatever bullshit that Ryback has to peddle you, or one of them's called shell shock. What's it called? Cream fat burner. Because that sounds legit, doesn't it? That sounds totally legit. I mean, it's juices and fruits. You're not don't smush your fruits in the juice. Ditch that. Just eat the fruit. Ridiculous. Or
Yikes.
how about this? Eat whatever the fuck you want. How about that? Huh? You ever think of that? Ryback? Why don't you go suck a dick? Oh boy. And then I can't wait to hear Ryback's homophobic reply to that. It's probably gonna be something else. All right. I think we should we're at some point we're gonna have to put an end to this.
Mm.
But we got a lot of good stuff out of that. There was a lot of fun Ryback stories right there.
Mm.
God bless him. He really wants to be over. But it's astounding that somebody in the wrestling business just does not get it at all. And there's been a couple of times you see people in the wrestling business, and you're like, how do you not get this? How do you not get that it's a work, but you have to at least pretend that it's a work, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know, astounding. I really hope that Ryback continues to talk shit, and that in a few months' time we get to do this all over again. I really hope the Ryback turns up in AEW. Because if Ryback turns up in AEW, remember I said a couple of weeks ago, if Ric Flair turns up in AEW, then all hope is lost. I'm changing my mind. It's Ryback. If Ryback turns up in AEW, then good God, we're all doomed. What the fuck would he do in AEW?
I mean, probably injure half the roster.
Yes. Oh boy. I hope CM Punk's finally healed up. Anyway, Ryback, if you're listening to this show, dude, chill out. You gotta chill, dude. We gotta chill. But keep being insane on Twitter. That shit's funny, man. We love it. Hey, if you want to come on the show, let us know. We can't pay you, but we will give you some of our brand new supplements that we're coming out with. They're really healthy. They're full of vitamin, I don't know, all the good vitamins.
And sugar as well.
Yeah, it's packed full of sugar. That's basically M&Ms. It's just M&Ms, but upside down to their W and W's.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means. Just eat some M&Ms, dude. You'll be all right. There you go. I think we're going to wrap things up here for now before we get too far down or any further down the Ryback rabbit hole. Is there anything else you want to say about our good friend Ryback before we wrap things up? I really want to tweet this Ryback.
No, I'm I think we've brought up a lot of good points about Ryback and some of the crazy things he said.
Yes, hopefully you listen to some of this stuff, and if not, at least some other people have been entertained, which is, I assume, the only time people have been entertained by Ryback. How about that for a zing? And then he's gonna be like, all these wrestling podcasts, in quotes, are all fake. Oh boy. All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. We're going to be back next week with some other, presumably not Ryback related podcast. We'll have to see. You have to subscribe to find out. But we'll be back next week. And we're going to say thank you very much for listening. And we shall see you soon. So, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Rawr.